tax-deductible tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0823.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
Why do I want to?
Hey, you know what? That's what happens when I unmute someone's mic. You know, usually I don't have my mic's muted until after the show starts.
Just calling premature Tom.
That's not what they said.
I thought it was mature Tom. Mature Tom.
Mature Tom.
There's a joke I'll tell you off the air about that one day. Like 8 days later, guy thinks he's sick, but never. Anyway, yeah. So Tom Trost in house today. He is our VP sales guru of the clothes. I don't know what else. I mean,
where does that come from?
What are some cool? No, really, because look, people are salesmen. You know what? One thing that hey, Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. It's Monday. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hey,
what's up, Chef?
I'm living the dream, man.
Whose?
I don't know. I'm living it one tiny nightmare at a time. No, actually, it was a good weekend. You know, I woke up with this scratch under my eye today, and I'm like, man, that must have been one hell of a dream. I was like, I don't know. I woke up and I was like, what'd I do? I must have hit a door. I tripped and hit a door. Sorry, officer.
Contacts in.
You know what? I've done that before, and I wake up, my eyes. You see my eyes when I wear them all night long, and I'm like, "What the heck is wrong?" I'm like, "They're gonna think I was up at 4:30 in the morning smoking dope." Yeah, no, man. You know that I can't do that. I can't. A, I don't like to feel like I'm not in control, and B, I fall asleep in a corner somewhere. So it's a total waste of time, money, effort. Even in high school, I was a kid that like after 4 times, I was like, "Why?" Because I just go to sleep.
Nobody's listening to this show, right? So I can say that I used to get high every day in college before I went to soccer practice.
Sure. Well, you know, come on. Nobody helps me get the 1,000 views I want a day. But, you know, it's okay. I'm not upset. I'm not mad at anybody. No. I love y'all. A little. Less and less every day. No, I'm just joking.
Maybe my buddy that's watching from Cincinnati, maybe he'll share this out to all his friends.
Yeah, you know, look, hey, if you do watch the show, the Chef Patrick Mosher, if you know me or don't know me, if you like the show at least, or maybe you like Tom, you don't like me, it's okay.
At least watch on Mondays.
You know, I'm not good at being self-deprecating. I am. I'm just not sure it's really very effective. But anyway, it's a good show. It's not a great show. It's not the best show.
They're getting better.
It's going to be the best show ever eventually. If my friend John J. Van Ness from Phoenix, I know you got some sort of like secret contract with the big guys in the radio industry, but dude, I just need like 5 minutes of pointers. I would be so much better, John J. Come on. If John J. doesn't want to, I don't know, you're Rich, but Rich, you could call in, okay? I'm just messing. So John J. and Rich, I don't get anything for this. As a matter of fact, I think due to conflict of interest stuff, they couldn't even have me on their show. But there's a show, John J. and Rich, in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, they're funny. Funny.
Where are they out of?
They're out of Phoenix. So John J., Van Ness, my friend Greg Patterson and I, we're all really tight friends growing up. And John J. moved to San Diego when he moved about 8th grade, I think. And then we used to go and visit him, though. Greg had a really fast car in high school. So we'd leave Friday afternoon and go see John J. He lived in La Mesa, a little bit inland from San Diego proper. And we would drive out, see him. We'd stop at his house, pick him up. We'd go down to Tijuana for the night. Just walking around, you know. We'd eat like street dogs, hot dogs, you know. Those big noisy clubs and stuff. We'd stay away from those.
I'm sure.
And then, go back up and early in the morning, end up at the beach looking for surf and cruising the coast. And then you take a nap, and then you wake up and you go get a carne asada burrito, because there's no carne asada burrito like a Southern California carne asada burrito. The Baja style burritos, where they have these, the tortillas are kind of almost translucent. When they stretch a little bit, you can kind of see the meat and guacamole inside there. But then they toast that whole burrito. Oh my goodness!
I haven't had one,
dude. Come on. Well, so when we get when this station gets some money, we're flying to San Diego.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right, my station's treat.
I'm sure we can find an advertiser there to write it off.
Oh, hey, Chef Works. Chef Works. Hey, did I tell you how much I love my Chef Works coat?
No,
dude, they have the coolest styles. I mean, look, I look like the same designer as Kim Jong-un, don't I?
Absolutely.
Did you hear when Jeffy said that to me one time? So hey, we're on the other channel, the other station one time, and one of the other show hosts there, who's a good friend of Doc's, and he and I kind of became friends after a while. He's a very unique character, and one day he goes, "The hell is that?" I said, "It's a chef coat." He goes, "Who designed that? It looks like the same designer as Kim Jong-un." And I was like, damn, that was a pretty harsh statement for a guy who likes to eat. We'll see if you get fed anymore.
It's classic Jeffy.
He was pretty funny. And then he'd always come in and he'd be like, because I do the show in the morning with Doc. It was at 6:30. But like, Doc got off the show. He finished up at 8. And then I'd stick around. I'd cook some other stuff, and Doc and I would chat, and then we'd go to Starbucks. So we didn't leave there till like 9:30, 10. And he'd be like, every time we walked in the kitchen, he's like, "The chef that wouldn't leave." And I'm like, "The guy that couldn't stop eating." But actually, Jeffy had a mild heart attack, didn't he?
Yes.
I'm glad he's doing okay. I needed to just reach out and say hi. All right, hey, today's show.
Before you get started.
No, yeah. Oh, what?
Tell us more about surfing. I never knew you were a surfer.
Dude, I suck. But you know what? But surfing's freaking cool, and it doesn't matter if you're good or not. Here's one of my things about something you're passionate about, whether you're good at it or not. Just do it. You know that whole dance like no one's looking, sing like no one's listening. Well, surf like there are no sharks in the water, and you know what the hell you're doing.
And there's no chicks watching.
Yeah, so I thought that snowboarding was going to be, because I picked up surfing fairly quickly, but I like either a medium-sized board, like anything like 8 foot to maybe 7 foot, 8 foot. That's the shortest I can ride. And then, I can ride the other ones. It's a 3-second ride. Now look like, look at that old guy trying to surf, man. It's really funny. But then I, up to like longboards up to 11 feet. That's what I really like to ride, because as long as you can get up on it, on the board, and work forward on the board to get you out out in front of the surf, you're fine. Those things are like, it's like surfing a ship, as long as it's in the wave, you're in the wave. You can rarely fall off the back of the wave. Southern California, especially that San Diego coast, doesn't have giant swells. But there are some cool places like off of Point Loma, which, by the way, has my favorite probably, it's not the best seafood place. It's pretty damn good, though. But Point Loma Seafood has this fried fish sandwich. Fried fish sandwich, baby. It is so good. Oh, my God. And they, behind the restaurant, we'll talk about surfing again in a minute. I get distracted by these food stories because
keep going.
I can't help it.
That's why everybody listens.
I can taste it. It's on sourdough bread, but you go out behind. It's kind of a seafood market and restaurant. It's not kind of, it is. They have 40 or 50 linear feet of seafood counter. So you order a fish sandwich, you sit out back, and it's like a concrete amphitheater. But instead of looking at the stage down below you, and it's not that big. It's only like 5 tiers, and it's probably 50 feet or 100 feet around, maybe 50 feet. Instead of that, you're seeing the boats come into the docks, and those are the day fishermen that go out. It's awesome. And a lot of that fish, not all, a lot of it comes in and goes to the market if they've caught something that they specifically want. But all right, I am going to actually share this to my page finally. We're only, I don't know, 9 minutes into the show, something like that. Yeah, it's not like I'm a slacker or anything. So I had I had almost a minute left when I got in here, and then all of a sudden it was like 14 seconds. I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I had to jump up, and we mess with these cameras for each show. So on Friday we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in here at one point, and so we wanted to get everyone in the shot. We had Richard Brandt is in here, Techru, and he's a non-engineer engineer, basically. He's a non-certified engineer. He's a smart guy. That guy's like, whew. I'm like, sure. I know what you're talking about. And then Lady Hikate, and I forgot what her first name is, but they came all the way down from Wyoming, Cheyenne, just to hang out, bring us some brew. And then they went to what's a furry convention thing at what's that place called? Where they joust and stuff.
Medieval times.
Yeah, medieval times. Have you ever been there?
Yes. Not the one here in Dallas, but I have been to them.
You ever want to beat somebody over the head with like one of those chicken drumsticks, the turkey drumsticks? I mean, just to see if it hurts. It's like, it would fall apart before you beat them to death. But I mean, just like, stop it. Just stop it.
Yes.
Not really.
I
Food violence is not acceptable. This is PSA number 7,421. Food abuse and violence, including food, against any of your neighbors, loved ones, non-loved ones, non-neighbors, or any other living creature is not allowed, and it's forbidden. You will go to jail. Okay, dude, it's Monday. Did I not get enough sleep, or maybe I got too much sleep? I think I slept like 45 minutes last night. No, I slept longer than that. But 45, was it 4 or 5, or was it 40? No, it was like 4 hours. 4 hours for me is like
that's good.
That's like 2 days sleep, 3 days sleep. But there were no voices in my head, or rather in the vents this weekend. So, dude, did you hear about that Friday?
No.
Oh, okay. Wait. So we're gonna catch Tom up real quick. If you happen to miss Friday's show, go back and watch a portion of it. I think it's the bottom of the second hour. So, yeah, about 90 minutes in. Cheryl calls in, Mixed Metapores, right. And that's mixedmetapores.com. The wonderful Cheryl Rich Heisler. She calls in to talk about the drinks, but I'm freaking out. So, telling this story. Apparently, Raider came in, the Friday before. And, of course, he brings in his bottles of whiskey and his beer, trying to liquor us up and get us. Yeah, but he's distracting us. Now I know it was sleight of hand the whole time. He's been coming in every other Friday for, 6 weeks now? It's sleight of hand. The whole time he was trying to just get us in the zone, get us all relaxed, a little liquored up. You know what he did? They have these things called an Anoyatron that I did not know existed. And it's a little speaker about that big. You'd think it fits inside of a teddy bear. It's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches across, 1 inch thick, and it has a self-contained battery, and it has an internal magnet inside the plastic case, so you can attach it to stuff, right? So I came in late last Sunday night. It was like after dinner at Valerie's house, Valerie and Doug Sokolowski. Mm-hmm. The lasagna challenge, of which Doc is now out of the running. He lost by default.
We lost.
So yeah, bummer. We never got to try his lasagna. Damn it. Hey, Una, if you could make Doc's lasagna, we'd like to enter it in the contest. So we'll give you a call and get the recipe, or just have you ship one down frozen. We'll reheat it. All right. So I come in, and I'm like, I check the doors. All right. I had a couple things on the desk I wanted to get before I retire for the evening. And so there, you can't tell, but if you are watching behind that wall, which if you aren't watching, behind that wall, there's a little hallway, and there are like a row of offices over there. Well, from that second office, all the lights are off except the lights in front of here where my desk is. Real dark. I walk in, check all the doors, make sure the lights are off, and I hear this. Can you hear me now? Hey, can you hear me? And I was like, I think it was, hey, can you hear me? I'm like, what? And it sounded like something in a ceiling tile. Dude, I jumped, man. The hair on my neck stood up, especially after the night that I was in here alone and all these lights turned on. I swear, those light switches were on. It wasn't the remote control, which could have been set off from the outside. It was the house lights, the built-in lights. After I purposely turned them all off, an hour later, they were on, the doors locked. So anyway, so I'm like, what was that? And then a little while later, you hear this baby, this breath goes, and you hear a baby go, I'm like, what was that? Then I hear the it's like the old Motorola ring, and it goes 3 times, and then it stops. And then this other digital thing goes off like a minute later, and then 5 minutes later, I am freaking out, and I'm thinking, okay, there's nobody here. It's obviously me playing tricks. I'm tired. It was a really long day. It was a long drive, long day leading up to dinner. We actually had the balcones, right?
Yes,
baby blue, which is an amazing Texas bourbon made with blue corn. And I'm not sure what happened with that, but maybe I had too much, right? I don't know. I had 1.5 glasses of wine. I had 1 Balcones. I thought it was fine, but apparently not. So anyway, every once in a while, like the next 2 days, I hear stuff. I'm just keeping my mouth shut. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't hear nothing. I don't hear anything. I know this is not food related, and it's funny. But anyway, so Tuesday morning, I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday, producer Ron says, man, I wish I could find those damn noisemakers. And I'm like, I go, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, apparently somebody planted a couple of these little noisemaker things. And I was like, okay, I knew where the sound was coming from. So I'm in here, which Tom usually works in one of those abandoned or the unoccupied offices. And there's a desk in there to use. So I'm opening the drawers. I'm looking underneath the desk. And I'm about ready to grab a knife and cut that chair open in there and start pulling stuffing out. And I
never found it?
No, I looked up in the vent, and there it was. Son of a gun. And then I came out here, I go, Ron, is this what we're looking for? And he goes, yeah, there's another one over here somewhere. So I started looking in the vents, but sure enough, we found another one there. And I'm like, are there any more? He goes, I don't think so, but I checked the Mojo studio just to make sure. There was nothing there. So I'm not saying it was Raider, but he was the only one here that day. And it started right after he left, apparently. And it was over the weekend, unless Brad or somebody came in. I don't know, though. I was not a happy camper. I was freaking out, man. And I
didn't know that.
It was not funny. It was kind of funny. If I'd have done it, it would have been really funny. But because somebody did that to me, yeah, shame on me. Shame on you. Shame on you. I'll find out, dude. And then you know what? I'm going to cook for you, and I'll get even. Those ghost chilies are really hot when put in the middle of a steak. Just cut that little pocket open and stuff. I wouldn't do that to somebody. Would you do that sometimes?
Yes.
All right. So you had a question for me.
I do.
Right?
Yes.
If you don't know, Tom comes in on Mondays. He poses the proverbial, hey, Chef Patrick, what happens in a restaurant when? And I pretend to know the answer. And, if I don't know it, then I say I don't know it, or you make something up. Nobody checks me on this stuff. Good. So you asked the question. I'm going to finally share this to my page. And let's see what you come up with.
So the question is, you're at a restaurant. You order a steak. You order it medium, and it comes out too red.
So you get rare.
And if I send it back, what happens?
Okay, so one of two things. How much of the steak have you eaten?
I didn't eat any. It's just cut per slice.
Okay, so in that case, typically, you send it, hey, this is too rare. Would you please take it back? In that case, they take the same steak, and they will put it on the grill. And they'll cook, they'll cook it a little further, and they put it back on a plate. They should send it out with fresh sides, right? A whole new plate with the same steak if you haven't eaten it. So, and typically it'll come out. The second try is usually pretty on. If you've eaten a portion of it, then a lot of times they'll recook that steak, and they won't resend the sides, right? Or if you've eaten most of the sides, they won't resend it. They'll send it on a small plate by itself. And then you can put it back on your plate if you want to. But yeah, so here's my rule of thumb. If the protein goes back, the whole plate fresh comes out. So basically, if you haven't eaten any of the steak, you get the same steak back, right? Or maybe if you've had 2 bites or something. If you get halfway through the steak and you find out I cook you a whole new steak. Because it's been on the table a while, and the fork's been in your mouth. It's touched. You don't want to put that back on the grill, and so I'll just send you. I'm going to cook you a fresh steak. If you give me a few minutes, please, if you don't mind. And then if you don't like it at that point, we comp the steak, or we give it to you complimentary. We remove it from the bill, and then at that point, we kind of take the loss, but we hide it elsewhere. Not we don't hide it. We record it. So
how does that work for you? For the restaurant at the end of the month, when you have, I don't know, a half dozen, 3 dozen of return steaks or dinners? Yeah,
so that's a good question. Restaurants typically have they have a threshold, right? They have like a 1% or 0.5% of gross sales is allowable in comps, right? Some restaurants go higher, it might 2%, but 2% is a lot of money. If you're doing $1 million a year, that's a lot of money, right? 20 grand?
20 grand.
Why in the world would you need to comp 20 grand a year? Right? That's right. 20 grand? 20 grand. 10 grand?
Sounds right.
I don't know. Whatever it is, why would you comp that, really? Well, sometimes it's employee meals. Like managers typically get a one comped meal a day, up to a certain limit. Managers also get some other benefits. Like if it's your birthday, you come in with say your friends and a couple other family members or other people in the restaurant industry, and you have a party. Like I work well, I don't work there anymore, and nobody else that I know works there anymore. So POE's in Coronado Island or on Coronado Island. Roger Boomer, dude, you lived it up, man. He came in for his birthday. It was like $800. Write it off. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was employee but at that point it's an employee benefit, right? But that restaurant did like $6 million a year. So he was a kind of a badass general manager. So but there are other ways to track that as well. If your POS system doesn't do that, then which it should. It's not a POS as in piece of, it's POS as in point of sale, and it's a tracking device. It's not just a place to place orders, a machine to place orders on. It's a tool for you to increase the efficiency and operating profits of your restaurant. It really is. It's the best tool you have in your arsenal in a restaurant, and it's the most underutilized. So one of the things we can do that as well is we have what's called a waste sheet or a shrinkage, right? So if I'm going through and I'm doing a daily inventory on produce because I need to place a produce order every night as a chef, then I look and say, let's see, there's 16 pounds of Brussels sprouts, but there's a half pound of waste. So I take that half pound of prepped Brussels sprouts. They're just cut, but they somehow haven't survived. Then I record that on the waste log, and at the end of the week, I add the cost of all that, all of those up, and then I can write off that total amount, and I turn that into whoever the accountant or whoever does the books for the restaurant. But I tally that up and I give that to him. Now, in the case of a steak, so the one coming back from the kitchen or from the restaurant floor, from the table, is going to be accounted for because you're either going to comp it off or they're going to reorder a new steak with the right temperature, and they're going to comp the other one off, and you have to give a reason, right? Guest unsatisfied, whatever, right? If that's the case, that's one thing. But if we just drop a steak and say it like it's cooked and it falls on the floor, you can't put it back on the grill.
Right.
You can't. I mean, have I seen people do it? Yes, but not in a very long time. Was I one time guilty of that? A really long time ago when I was like, teens still? Yes, I did it one time. I thought the chef was going to beat me, literally beat me with a stick. And he didn't have a stick. His arm would have worked, but no, you can't do that. So what you do is you write on the waste log, it's 1 filet mignon, 8 ounce, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the week, it goes in the same log. And that way you can account for it. People walk through the restaurant cook line like it's a buffet. It's a salad bar. Remember that scene out of Pretty Woman? What's her name? The other actress, not
Julia.
Not Julia. The other one. Giancarlo, something like that. I forgot what her name is, but she's going through and making like a little toothpick of fruits. And he's like, "Hey, this isn't a buffet." That's true. I mean, each one of those costs you money, and if you're not serving it with something that you are being paid for, then it's considered shrinkage. It's loss. You lose that money. You don't just lose the money that cost you. Again, you lose the revenue that you would have had by selling that with a drink. Mm-hmm. So that's what we talked about last week. Family meal is a good way to control costs in a restaurant. You serve all the staff at one time instead of at different times. And a lot of restaurants have like frozen burgers or chicken wings or something you can feed the staff. The problem is that what they really get, or is your staff feeding them something else? So having a family meal is a good way to control that cost, keeps people from grazing during the shift, and everybody starts on a full stomach. There's no reason they should need to eat during the shift anyway. So that was probably more of an answer than you wanted, but that's what happens. Well, we're down to like a minute and a half left. I still have not shared the damn video. I am perhaps the least efficient show host in the history of
Spoony.
Yeah, well, maybe in all of radio. I don't know. I mean, I'm not quite the Bob Uecker of radio, but I'm a little slow. I'm a little. I get focused on the story, and I'll be honest with you. Social media is not like my favorite. You know that.
You need to be a little more proud of your show.
I love. Okay, now, can I tell you what? I'm really happy with how things are going so far. Last Friday, man, that was fun. That was a really fun show, and all of last week. I think last week was a great week for the show. I don't have any famous chefs on here. Well, once in a while, that's not the point. I am the Food Biz Pro, the consummate professional, the knowledge, the keeper of all restaurant knowledge. Not really, but I do. I have a very, very storied, deep-rooted history in the restaurant industry, and I've worked under some of the most phenomenal chefs in the country. I absolutely love it. And, if I don't have an answer for people that have a question, I will find the answer. That's what I love to do. Make food approachable, explain the unexplainable, demystify the mystery that is food of today. This foodie society, man, it's cool because people want to know, and I get to share.
Awesome.
Yeah. On that note,
Chef.
Dude, I know. I like Tom. Stay in. He's like, dude, I got real work to do. No more saving your butt. Anyway, thanks, Tom.
Fun to see you.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter @FoodBizPro.
Take the pain out of ordering your diabetic testing supplies with Diathrive. Diathrive ships the testing supplies you need directly to you when you need them. Best of all, with plans starting as low as $8 a month, Diathrive is probably going to cost you less than what you're paying today.
Have you done it? You catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror?
I'm one of those people you don't want to see naked.
Yeah, most of us. But I mean, you look and you're going, what the?
I know.
How did I get to whatever?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Hey there, it's Doc Thompson and Brad Staggs to tell you about a different way to shed those pounds. This is brand new tech. It's only been around for a couple of years or so. It was based on research from the University of California that said there's a molecule called OEA that's found naturally in your body. It produces it in the Mediterranean diet, that when taken in concentrated amounts, it will actually make you feel fuller and boost your metabolism.
I've lost about 10 pounds so far.
It's amazing.
It
Now,
really is cool.
A company said, we can take this to market and make this great product that'll help you. It's called RidUZone, RIDUZone.com, RIDUZone.com. It's Brad's worked. It's worked for Brad's, worked for me, countless other people. Go to RidUZone.com and try today. You're going to love it. RidUZone.com. Remember that, RIDUZone.com.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-570-6630. 800-570-6630. That's 800-570-6630. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
All right, we're back. Damn, Mike does not want to tighten up today. What is up with that? Yep. All right. No, that's going to break that. So we'll work with it here. It's no problem. Hey, Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro, back after a very short 2-minute break. Yeah, so I'm posting this. Look, tell your friends. Join us today, even if you're late like me. I'm talking James Beard Awards, food news, and may even have a guest caller to chat about the science and art of homebrewing. So tune in or starve. Tune in or that's right. If you don't tune in, no one's going to feed you today. No sandwich maker at home. Sorry. Nope. Damn it. This thing. I'm going to fix this in the break. I'm going to fix that. I promise. All right. So I was looking, James Beard Awards. There were a lot of nominees during the semifinal rounds of the James Beard Awards in Texas. I want to say there were 11 in Houston. There were 7 in Austin, and I want to say 6 maybe in Dallas. I'll get the exact numbers, but I was kind of surprised. Two of the cities got snubbed. They got especially in the chef category. So all right, guest caller, not Slayer. My gosh, can I tell you this autocorrect when it comes to typing and voice to text? Can we just get rid of it? Just get rid of it. I have a German keyboard on my phone, so that sometimes I'll switch to the keyboard and I'll speak to text in German, and it will come out correctly. But every time I'm typing on the English keyboard, it wants to correct my words to German. Okay? Stop. Apple, just stop being so effective. Stop being so helpful. I don't want it in German if I'm typing in English. But I did give up complaining, or better, bitching for Lent, so I'm going to stop on that. So tune in, or starve. That's what it is. Yep, no one's going to feed you if you don't tune in. Sorry. I'm just saying. And don't make me shut down Facebook again. That would really suck. Not really for me. I mean, it would be one less thing I have to do tomorrow. I wouldn't have to post on social media. I mean, I'm kind of behind on my bacon memes. Man, it doesn't matter what I post on social media. It could be the most interesting food story ever. It really could. Could be something fantastic. You know what gets the biggest reach? Bacon, because everybody loves bacon. So if you have a really funny food meme, try to send it as a private message to Spoony Radio. I will look through, sift through a few of them, and I will give you credit. Submitted by, as we post, I'd like to put it 1 or 2 a day. Sean Sheeler, hard to get a word in, huh? Yes, Tom, I'm sorry. I apologize. It is hard to. Poor Tom. He comes in. He's my first abused guest of the week every week. And he takes it like the man of such high character that he is, with a smile the entire time. Who knows what he says when he gets out of the room? But all right. So James Beard Awards. First and foremost, we're going to talk about. Now we'll go to Austin after. All right. So I was looking at James Beard Awards in Houston. They had 11 nominations for James Beard Awards in the semifinal round. I know Chris Shepard was up for Outstanding Chef. They had a couple for Best Chef Southwest or South. A couple for Outstanding Restaurant. Out of all 11 nominees, no chefs made it through. And yep, so they were completely shut out of the 2019 James Beard Awards with none of the chefs. But you know that's not true. I thought that one. It was 2018. Yeah. So out of 11 nominations, 0 made it through to the finals. Last year, Anvil Bar and Refuge was the only James Beard Award finalist from Houston, and I mean they had like 8 or 9 nominees last year as well. And then I want to say Hugo Ortega, his for Ortega's Restaurant, yeah, Hugo's. He got the city's most recent James Beard Award for Best Chef, and that was Best Chef Southwest. That was 2017. So last year, this year, shut out of the running. That's kind of sad. But here. Dallas, right here, Dallas-Fort Worth, the Metroplex, for the second year in a row, 0 Dallas chefs made it through to the finals. I don't know what's going on here, but they had I want to say, there were 3. There were 3 chefs nominated in the semifinals, and 0 made it through. So Misty Norris, she's at Petra and the Beast. She was up for, I think, Best Chef Southwest, or no, Best Restaurant. Best Chef Southwest. And then Bouillon's Ricardo Ricci Sanchez was nominated for Outstanding Pastry Chef, but nobody made it through. It's crazy. So out of those, 11 or 14 nominations, 0. But hey, let's go to Austin, because Austin's hip and cool. You know, 6th Street, wow, 6th Street's like Tijuana in the summertime. It's just, Austin is such a cool city. If they just took that one street away, it would be really cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking Austin. I love Austin. Some of the best chefs in the country. You know, you have Tyson Cole of Uchi. He won, I think, it was a while back, 06 maybe? 06, 09. Tyson Cole got Best Chef of the Year. You know, it's 2011. I'm sorry, for Uchi. Paul Key in 2012. He got it for Franklin's Barbecue got it. Aaron Franklin for Franklin Barbecue in 2015. Paul Key in 2012. And Tyson Cole was the very first winner from Austin in 2011. So you have 2011, 2012, 2015. But this year, they had 6 nominees. And I believe 3 made it through to the finals. So you had, 6 nominated. And the finalists are, let's see, Bryce Gilmore of Barley Swine. That was his 7th consecutive nomination through to at least to the semifinals. You had Michael Fochesek of Olame. He was a finalist last year. And then Kevin Fink of Emmer and Rye. And I think that they're all nominated for Best Chef Southwest. That's crazy. So Steve McHugh. Oh wait, so they were the original 3 nominated. They were the additional 3. But you had Steve McHugh of Cured in San Antonio. Oh, okay. So these are other finalists for Southwest. So you had those three for Best Chef Southwest. Steve McHugh of Cured in San Antonio. Charlene Badman of F&B in Scottsdale. Oh, F&B is a great restaurant. And then they had a, well, that's it. So you had those 5. Huh. Crazy. So you had a total of 6, 17, 26, 17, 20. Yeah. Almost 30, 25 nominations in Texas, and 4 made it through. So, hey, Steve McHugh, San Antonio is not a big city. It's a food town, but it's very touristy. They have, a couple of just big attractions. Big attractions, the Alamo, you have the Riverwalk. But, hats off to Steve McHugh of Cured. I mean, the fact that you made it through to be one of the 5 finalists, congratulations. Awesome. We will keep our eyes peeled on that. I love the James Beard Awards. If you don't know who James Beard is, look him up. He was kind of, I think we all think of Julia Childs as the one that kind of set the stage for cooking shows in the United States with her show on PBS, of course, for years and years and years, and her love of wine, which was phenomenal. A glass one glass for the pot and 1 glass for the chef. I loved her, man. She was such an amazing woman. And if you haven't heard this story before, because I've told it several times, I saw her one time in Aspen. Let's see, it was 1997. 97? 97, yes, because, yeah, okay. So 1997, 1998, wow. 1998, Matsuhisa Aspen opened, and during that the following summer of 97, one of those 2 years, Julia Childs came to the Food and Wine Festival, Food and Wine Magazine's big festival in Aspen, and she was a big woman. I don't know if she was tall. She was like 5'11", 6 foot. She was a big girl. Anyway, impressive. At that point, she was probably well into her 60s, and if you've ever flown into Aspen, which most people haven't, I don't blame you. It's a very small airport. It's very expensive to fly into, and it's a really dangerous and crappy approach because you're flying, you're decreasing the altitude in a valley that is increasing in altitude as you approach the runway. As a matter of fact, there was a big crash when we lived up there. That was when I lived up there many years ago. I think in 1998, there was a big crash on the approach to the runway, and it got a lot of publicity. Anyway, Julia Childs at that time they don't have a jetway, right? So that's the thing that connects to the airplane that allows you to not have to go down these steps, the air stairs, and then walk across the tarmac and into the terminal. There's no jetway. So what you have to climb down the stairs, and you actually go to the back of the plane and you collect your own luggage. So she's got this assistant who's probably, I don't know, 5'8", 5'8", 5'7", 5'6", I don't know, somewhere. This man who's following her, obviously her beck and call boy, whatever she needs, he fetches, he's her assistant. And she walked fast. She had long strides. So they're walking towards the back of the plane. And he goes to fetch the luggage, and she immediately goes, kind of slaps his hand out of the way, bends over, grabs her luggage, and proceeds to walk into the terminal. And it was funny, the look of horror on his face as she picked up her own luggage and walked into the Aspen terminal was utter shame and disdain. I mean, that poor man, he'd been totally emasculated. That's the word I was looking for. Anyway, enough about that. Today is April Fool's Day, and I want to say, this is not a joke, happy birthday to my sister, Karen Carey. We're going to talk tomorrow or the next day. No, not tomorrow. You have a big event tomorrow with Beach Nut. Oh, I called her today to say happy birthday. She lives in upstate New York in Saratoga Springs, and she had some great ideas for some show segments. And Beach Nut, if you don't know what Beach Nut is, look up the company. They've been in business since like 1886, 96. But they're a northeastern, pretty much regional gum, and I think they produce other things besides gum. I think they make candy and stuff as well. But yeah, it's a very regional company. It's been in business forever. I'm going to try to get hopefully maybe the president, vice president, director of sales, somebody, marketing coordinator. I want somebody on the show. I just want to call in an interview. I want to know the history of the company and share that with our listeners. I find it fascinating, these old companies that have been around for a long time and still only have a regional presence. Now, I know that they are trying to grow. They're trying to get into some of the larger national chain stores, and I wish them the best of luck with that. And if I can help facilitate in any way, I know some of the people that are buyers for a lot of the departments and for some of those big, grocery stores and big box retailers. So give me a shout. That's Chef Patrick Mosher. You can look it up on Spoony Radio. You can find the number. You can reach me here, or you can send an email to chefpatrick@spoony.com. All right, so today is actually national, besides being my lovely sister's birthday. Karen, you are one of my favorite three sisters, right? One of my favorite three sisters. But today is actually National Sourdough Bread Day. Now, if you've never had sourdough bread, you don't know what you're missing, because, or maybe you do know what you're missing and you just don't like sourdough bread because you've never tried it. Sourdough bread is the oldest form of leavened bread. Leavened meaning raised bread. Unleavened bread is more like cracker, hardtack, matzah, things like that. They don't rise, right? It's not a muffin. It's not a bread. It's a cracker. It's really flat, hard, and or crispy. So I want to say, it says when I'm reading this article, it says one of the oldest leavened breads, but I really think that sourdough, that had to have been the original way that they were able to get the bread to rise, because, baking soda and baking powder were not commonly used for, until about 100 years ago. So sourdough, if you don't know what that is, it's basically you make a starter. And yes, I'm having to hold the microphone because it's going to fall over any minute. You have a starter, and a starter is basically yeast and sugar, and then an additional something to add body, right? So you activate the yeast by adding sugar and a warm liquid. Okay, so yeast actually stays alive for a long time. It's typically in dry powdered form or dry granulated form. Like if you buy a little Fleischmann's yeast pouch, they're like a 1/4 ounce of yeast in a pouch. It looks like little balls, preformed balls, and you put those into a liquid that's right about body temperature. Then the yeast, you'll have like warm milk, because there's natural sugar in the milk. The yeast, when it wakes up in that warm temperature, that warm liquid, it starts to eat the sugar and it gets bubbly on top. Now, you probably don't want to use milk for the bread. So what you do is you'll take a little bit of sugar or honey or something else to feed the yeast, and you add that into the water with the yeast, and it starts to feed it. And then then you can fold your flour in, and that's when you get the rising process. So typically you take your yeast, and then whatever dough components you need on top of that, you have the yeast, water, something to feed the yeast, which is a sugar substance, and then you add your flour in, and then you allow it to rise after you knead it for the appropriate amount of time. Now, what the raising does is, as it rises, that's what gives it that the not just the infrastructure, like the shape of the bubbles inside that you see when you bake the bread. If you cut like a sourdough bread in half, then a lot of times you have large bubbles and small bubbles that you see inside the bread. But it might be denser, like something like white bread. That's not leavened with a starter, so it's going to have a different crumb, so to speak. It has a different texture inside. It's denser. There aren't really holes. It's more of a consistent texture. Anyway, sourdough, because there's a lot of that gas is produced in there from the yeast. Okay. You take that starter that you started, you don't actually make bread out of it. You let it kind of ferment. It gets sour. And it's kind of a long, slow process. It takes a couple of days to get started. But what happens is, if you use it all up to make your bread, then you have to start from scratch every time. So what happens is people make a starter, and that starter is perpetually fed. Half or 3/4 or 9/10 is taken off for production. But you always have a little bit that's in reserve that you keep feeding. And then you keep feeding, and it grows, and you keep feeding, and it grows, and you take part off for production, and that starter just keeps going on forever. So anyway, it's the type of yeast that you use is typically what gives it that slightly sour taste. And if you've heard the story of me trying to make Nancy Silverton of La Brea Bakery's breads up at altitude in Aspen, using only the yeast found on the outside of the grapes, that I bought as the starter, the yeast to start the whole process, it didn't always work out so well. A, it was the middle of winter. B, there's not a lot of yeast on the outside of the grapes at that time of year, or they typically wash them off, so there's not a lot during transport. And even the organic stuff that I bought, it took forever for it to actually start to ferment, get the starter going. And then for them to rise in that cold temperature took days. It was ridiculous. But San Francisco sourdough, if you've never been to San Francisco, it's one of the most famous. And I mean, they serve everything in that, especially clam chowder or other soups. If you've never had it, then I highly recommend it. You can make any sort of clam chowder you want. It's typically not Manhattan clam chowder. It's typically New England style clam chowder that's a cream based. But if you want to make a really good sourdough bread, here's a basic recipe. I will post this link in just a moment, but here's how it goes. So you need 4 3/4 cups of bread flour, 3 tablespoons of white sugar, 2.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 or a 1/4 ounce package, which is 1 package of active dry yeast, again, Fleischmann's, or whatever brand you want to use, and 1 cup of warm milk, 2 tablespoons of margarine, soft, 1.5 cups of sourdough starter. Oh, come on. Did we not go through the starter? They don't even give us the starter recipe. That's not cool. So we need to find the starter recipe, right? Because without the starter, what the hell? You can't make the bread. You know, so this is a fail. My son asked me to do a segment on this. So he said, Dad, you need to take a recipe that you find on the internet or that's published in a magazine or on a website and break it down and go through it and say yay or nay, what's good, what's bad. But look, and this is from All Recipes, which is one of my favorite sites. You failed. You failed on this one because you didn't give the starter recipe. And at the very beginning, it said at the outset, use a good sourdough starter, one that you have tended to for best results. Okay, well, if I don't know how to make sourdough bread, how am I going to have a sourdough starter? It doesn't make any sense. So let's find a really good, reasonably easy to make sourdough starter. All right. And no, I'm not going to give you mine. Starter. All right. So it's, well, you can actually buy it, but that's kind of silly. You know what? If you don't have time, buy it. There you go. You can actually go on eBay. You can buy San Francisco sourdough, the actual sponge itself, for $3.50. Huh. You can actually go to King Arthur Flour and get a sourdough and crock set. Because if you keep your starter on the counter, which is where it needs to stay to grow and keep developing, then you can keep it a crock, a ceramic crock. Works quite well. You can get the classic fresh sourdough starter. That's also from King Arthur Flour for $8.95. And for $15 from Amazon, you get the original San Francisco starter. Original San Francisco sourdough culture. Interesting. Who'd have thought? So here's the deal. I'm a chef. I'm gonna expose myself to be vulnerable right now. Okay? Don't go for the jugular. But as much as I know about the culinary arts, what you can buy online, the variety of products available online, I did not know. How I did not know this, I'm not sure. I did not know that you can buy a sourdough starter ready to go on the internet from Amazon or King Arthur Flour or eBay or Goldbelly or any of these things. Didn't know. Okay, to make it's pretty simple. It's flour, water. Okay, that's pretty much it. You don't have to have yeast in it, but if you start with the yeast, it's a little better. It's you can just start with flour, water, and some sort of sugar substance, but it's about 6 days for it to start to do their thing, right? 5 to 6 days. It's pretty straightforward. All right, here you go. Ready? I'm going to give you this is pretty much the basic recipe I use. I'm going to give it away. Yep. All right. Pretty simple. I like ReaderView. If you don't have it, if you have Apple, do you use ReaderView? I love ReaderView. It's the easiest thing in the world. All right. So here we go. And starters, again, these were essential to making breads a long time ago because they could be dried out and transported with the person who's making the bread, thus traveling, you could dry it out. If you dry it out and then rehydrate it later on, which it doesn't always work perfectly, but you can. That yeast can stay alive but not active, after being dried out. So let's see here. Here we go. Sourdough starter recipe. Is there an ingredient list? Yes. So day 1, you take 25 grams of whole wheat flour, 25 grams of all-purpose flour. You can use all-purpose or straight whole wheat or a mix of both. A mix is good because the whole wheat flour is a little bit slower digesting. The all-purpose flour is faster acting. And then you take 50 grams of water. So 25, 25. It's equal parts of flour and water. You stir them, and it should kind of like a paste. When you were a kid, you made paste with flour and water in first grade, kindergarten. Yes, you did. And you used to eat it off the little tongue depressor thing. What were they used for? Popsicles, right? The popsicle sticks that came in a bag of 1,000. Yes, you did. All right. And you had finger paint. Remember the finger paint that tastes like pudding? It was called pudding paint. Yes. I actually licked the painting before I took it home to Mom. Yeah, there was this big tongue mark. It was disgusting. But anyway, thanks, Mom, for not saying anything. I drew a witch. It was Halloween. Right? She was flying around on a broomstick. But the paint tasted like it was pudding paint. I swear to you on my mother's name, Dorothy Madeline Garner Bailey Mosher, that it was called pudding paint. I was in kindergarten, Corinth, New York. Yes. I swear. Yes, pudding paint. And you probably could have eaten it for dessert. They had all sorts of colors. So anyway, equal parts water and flour. It's best if you mix like a whole wheat and an all-purpose flour. 50 grams. And then you keep it somewhere. So you mix it up. It's like a thick paste. And then you keep it somewhere warm for 24 hours. And by warm, I don't mean really warm. We're talking like 68 to 70, maybe 72 degrees, right? A nice, cool spring day warm. A good place to reach that if you don't have just a tiny space above your refrigerator. Putting it up on top of the refrigerator is typically fairly consistent. I would take you can take a chef's thermometer or a kitchen thermometer and just stick it up there for a little while and see what the temperature comes out to be. Find a place that's 68 to 72 degrees. All right. If it's too cold, it takes too long for the starter to activate because the yeast is not going to do anything. And if it's too warm, then you might kill the yeast. So, all right. So day 2, again, 24 hours at that temperature, right? 24 hours at 68 to 72 degrees. Day 2, you may or may not see anything happening, but typically you're going to see bubbles forming. They're going to appear in the starter, and it'll look like it's fermenting. It'll get bubbles actually inside of the starter. So you can do either. So even if you don't see bubbles, right? It doesn't matter. You discard. So you take half of the starter out, and you add. So you take half the starter out. And then you add the same ingredients from the day before, 25 grams of whole wheat flour, 25 grams of all-purpose flour, and 50 grams of water. You stir that, combine it in with the other starter from the day before, cover the jar, put it back in the same location. All right? The other half you can just throw away. Or you can start 2 starters, and you can give that away to someone else because these things start to grow exponentially. Matter of fact, my mother and her best friend, Judy Sefton, they used to make this thing called like a coffee cake, and they called the starter Herman. And every once in a while, they would have so much Herman that they would fill jars with it, and they would give it out to all their friends. And hey, here's a starter for you for coffee cake. Yeah, here you go. Oh my God, we ate so much coffee cake for like 2 years. It was ridiculous. I smelled like coffee cake when I hadn't eaten it for 3 days. It was delicious, but it was a pain in the rear. I mean, you had to feed it every day. You had to give away half or bake half. I mean, by the time you were done, you had like 4 gallons of starter. You were making 26 pounds of coffee cake a day. Okay, so really quick, we got 2 minutes left. So you divide it. Half goes in the garbage, or you duplicate it and give half to someone else. The other half that you're keeping, add the same amount of ingredients. Goes in the warm place for 24 hours. Now, day 2 or day 3, rather, you're probably going to see more bubbles than you did the first day after the first 24 hours. So it should start to smell kind of sour at that point too. Again, you can discard half the starter or give it away to someone else. Or just throw it away. You don't need it. Throw half away. At this point, you're going to just go to all-purpose flour. You're going to take 50 grams, you add it in, and 50 grams of water. That's it. You stir it, put it back in the jar, put it back up there for 24 hours. Now, day 4, you're going to see a lot of bubbles. The starter's going to, it's going to be like 1.5 times in volume. It's going to really start to, the yeast is eating the sugars in the flour and, in the flour, and it's creating gas, right? That's the byproduct when it eats something, just like when we eat beans, it's the same reaction. And so you're going to have a lot more volume. Again, day 4, discard half, 50 grams all-purpose flour, 50 grams of water, stir to combine, cover the jar, put back in the warm place for 24 hours. Now, day 5, it's going to be really bubbly. It's going to be double in size. And at this point, it's going to sound it's going to smell funky, like your sister's gym socks or your brother's gym socks when you're in high school. It's going to taste sour. This is when it's ready. Almost there. The starter's ready to use. It may take an extra day to day 6. Typically, day 5, it's pretty good. There's a whole methodology on feeding and maintaining the starter. It's basically the same method that we just spoke about over and over and over. But, don't throw all that starter away. Give it away, right? Give it away. So back to the recipe very quickly. Quickly, Patrick, quickly. So you take, here we go. You take, all right, 1 cup of flour, sugar, salt, dry yeast, add milk, softened butter. Man, this thing's coming in earlier and earlier. I'm like a minute in. All right, so obviously they're going to cut me off. I feel like I'm at the Oscars, man. They're going to cart me off stage with that little, what's that thing they grab sheep with? The hook? Little peep. Off you go. All right, well, I'll be back in 4 minutes, folks. Come join us. We may even have a caller on the hook if he's got signal.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The political fight over the Mueller report is about to heat up.
The House Judiciary Committee announcing it will vote Wednesday to authorize the subpoenas if Attorney General William Barr misses tomorrow's deadline set by Democrats for the full report. Barr has already said he'd have a redacted version of the 400-page report available by mid-April.
Capitol Hill correspondent Wally Hines reporting. The White House says President Trump is serious about his threat to close the U.S. border with Mexico.
Acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney told ABC it would take something dramatic for President Trump to not shut down the border. Twice last week, the president threatened to close parts of the border unless Mexico's government stopped illegal crossings. Mulvaney pointed to former Obama Homeland Security Director Jay Johnson, who now says the U.S. is facing a crisis at the southern border.
White House correspondent Greg Cluxton. In health news, the number of measles cases through the first 3 months of this year have surpassed the count for all of 2018. There have been 387 cases through March, according to the CDC. There were 372 last year. This year's numbers have been driven by outbreaks in several states, including New York, California, Illinois, Texas, and Washington. Also on townhall.com, correspondent Rita Foley reports on what we're not buying and why.
Retail sales are down 0.2% for February. Some of the things we didn't buy as much of: electronics, groceries, furniture, clothing, and building materials. One expert says a couple of unusual factors may have played into this: snowstorms and a skimpier tax refund for many Americans. Overall, say economists, the signs point to a slowing economy.
And on Wall Street, stocks are higher. The Dow had 276 points now. The NASDAQ is up 92. More on these stories at townhall.com.
It looks like you're losing.
I am.
Are you losing weight?
I am losing. I've lost about 10 pounds.
How are you doing it?
Funny name, but I've done it with Riduzone. RADUzone.com, and the stuff works. It's, you get into all that, the molecule this and the found in that. All I can tell you is it makes you feel full, and it keeps your mind off of wanting to overeat.
And also boost your metabolism,
Yes,
so you're
it does.
burning more.
Yeah, it
Try it today. It's going to work for you like it's worked for Brad and countless other people. RidUZone.com. RIDU Zone.com.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Yes, sourdough bread. Man, I love sourdough bread. It is National Sourdough Bread Day. We were just quickly going through a recipe from San Francisco sourdough bread recipe. Look, if you've never had clam chowder served in a sourdough bread bowl, shame on you. It's delicious. You know, my favorite part is after you get most of the soup gone, then so most people, like, as you eat the soup, you kind of break off pieces, dip it in there. I like to wait till the end because that layer of bread that's soaked in soup, where the soup was oh man, it's so good. It's like my favorite part. It's kind of gooey where the soup was, doughy, and then you have that great sourdough texture behind that. Hopefully you get a little bit of the crust on there. It's delicious. And if you don't like, New England clam chowder, I'm sorry. I really am. Manhattan clam chowder's fine. I'm a New York boy. I actually like it a lot, but there's just something on a cold winter's day that the thickness of that soup, that rich, thick, creamy, gelatinous kind of base to hold the clams in suspended in the liquid. In the soup itself, and it has to have potatoes in it. It has to have some potatoes in there, but that's my favorite. It's a shame. There's this great restaurant. It used to be what used to be a really great restaurant. It's still my favorite oyster bar in Boston. It's still the oldest restaurant in America, but they were really famous for their New England style clam chowder, and it's terrible now. I mean, but they make like 300 gallons a day because that's how popular it is. I was very saddened. A couple of years ago, I went with Barry Furseth, my seafood mentor and guru in Bentonville, Arkansas. He was my vendor in my fishmonger in California for years. We went there. We went to the Seafood Expo, International Seafood Exposition, which is a huge food show. And of course, the first night we were there, we went to this iconic restaurant, and I was kind of saddened. It really just wasn't that great. But dang, the oysters, off the charts. All right, hey, I believe we have Mr. Richard Brandt on the phone. Richard, are you there? Did I finally give you the right number? Hello? Are you there? Richard, do you hear me? Are you there? Hello? He may not have any coverage right now. I had him on hold for a minute, so he might be on the other line. I will text him and find out, though. Anyway, if you were watching the show on Friday, Richard was sitting here. If you follow us on Twitter, his Twitter handle is TechRoo. That's TEKROO. Not kangaroo, but TechRoo. But anyway, he is a fantastic home brewer, and has actually... Well, let me try one more time. I'm going to mute and then unmute. All right. I'm going to answer, and let's see if you're there. Hello, hello, Richard? He can hear me, but I can't hear him. I'm gonna drop the call, try calling back and see what happens, and see if I can figure this out, if I'm smart enough to actually figure it out. Richard's gonna call back in a second. Richard brought in some beers last week that were unbelievable. He also brought in some whiskey, some Aspen aged bourbon. And when I mean Aspen aged bourbon, they actually take a section of aspen tree, and they cut it and they age it in the barrel with that branch. It's fantastic. Let's try again. Richard, are you there? Hello. Avon calling. Why is this not working? I'm gonna have to text Ron here and see. Apparently I'm not smart enough to figure this out. But yeah, unmute all. They're all unmuted. Man, I don't know what's going on. That's too bad, because he brought in 3 very distinct beers. One was a what was a Scottish strong? We have to talk about that. That was my favorite. My second favorite, though, was a smoked pineapple. And I don't know. Producer Ron, are you around? Ronaldinho. Ron's name is Ronald Dean. Oh, you're the man. Thank you. Hey, are you there? Are you there? Hello?
1, 2.
Yeah,
Hello?
There you go. Hey, sorry about that. I forgot to tell Ron I was going to have callers. Mea culpa. Thank you, Ron. Yeah, he's like, dude, man, come on, make yourself look bad. I am making myself look bad. But so, Richard, you were in here the other day, and I'll tell you, this is some of the best beer I've had. And
why, thank you.
I'm serious. We drink a lot of beer. At least we try a lot of variety of beer. Especially Matt and I on Friday mornings and throughout the week, we have to try to think of something unique and fun to drink. But I'm telling you, that it was smoked pineapple, right?
Yeah, hickory smoked pineapple.
Oh man! And what style of beer was that?
That was just a basic, not very. It's kind of a pale ale recipe, but without the hops. It was very, very lightly hopped. In fact, all of those beers were except for the Belgian strong ale, which you can't tell that it's got a lot of hops in it, because it's got that heavy sweetness that's counteracting the bitterness of the hops.
Okay. Can I tell you how funny it was to hear you say unhopped with a guy whose Twitter handle's TechRoo? I know. Sorry, I had it was fun. No, come on, man. All right, so
that's okay.
So go back into the beer a little bit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to lose that train of thought. I had to interject and talk over you. But okay, so back to the beer.
Right.
You're right. It does not have the typical finish of an IPA or even a typical ale. So how did you do that? I mean, what was the secret?
But the body itself, is a pale ale type. It is just a generic light beer, but what's special was I had a number 10 can of pineapple chunks that I put in my smoker for a few hours, running hickory in it, and then I just dumped that into the fermenter.
Oh man, that was awesome! I'm telling you, that beer. So you had that kind of the citrus finish, that's from the hops, though, right?
There is a citrusy hop, but just a little bit of citrusiness.
Yeah,
it's a little residual pineapple you got, because the pineapple is really just sort of resting in the fermenter, and you're getting some of the flavor out. If I've caramelized the pineapple real good in the smoker, then the yeast is going to find that fructose and blow it all apart. So you get a bit of the citrus from the pineapple. You get just a touch from there's this hop I used called Lemon Drop in that one. But and then you got the smoke. Then you got the smoke, which is kind of funny, because smoke will remind people of different foods that have nothing to do with the beer. Like one of the costume characters I had in there Friday was asking me, "Is there meat in this?" Because the smoke was reminding them of bacon, which is kind of what I was going for. That beer was created as a joke, basically, because I was triggering people talking about pineapple on pizza. And I don't know if you noticed, I was wearing one of my Pineapple Belongs on Pizza T-shirts earlier when I was in there, just to see who I can trigger. But I told them, I'm going to make a hickory smoked pineapple ale. No, gross. There's no way that's going to work. But hey, dude, my joke beers always come out the best.
It was awesome. It was really good. So now there's a little bit more complicated beer there in the middle, right? That was what was the Scottish ale you had there? What was that Scottish?
The Belgian strong ale,
that's
probably.
Right. Belgian strong ale. Yeah. So, but that did not start out as a Belgian strong ale, right?
No, that started as that is a base I like to use for a lot of different things, and I tweak it this way or that. It started as a reverse engineered Australian dark lager that I found out was actually a modified English bitter that the brewer, the original beer, helped this Australian company turn it into a lager. And then I moved to England for 6.5 years, and I tracked them down and found out I'd somehow created the original ale without ever actually tasting it. But then I started getting ideas for that beer. I've made a wassail out of it by adding mulling spices and warming it up and adding a ton of brown sugar and fruit, and a mug of that after a turkey dinner, you just go brain dead. I got the idea while drinking beer, drinking Unibrau's Madzit at a furry convention many years ago, and thought, you know what, I got to figure out what this yeast is, and that's kind of where that. I made a Belgian, with just that Belgian yeast, but the same beer. And then I doubled up the grain bill to make the Belgian strong version, which used to come out at around 13.5%. But I had some process issues. I had to change a few. I was forced to change parts of the process when my favorite mash thermometer broke. I decided I needed a better mill it dropped to about 9.5%.
When your favorite mash thermometer broke, did you cry like I did when my favorite roux spoon broke? It actually got burned up in a fire. I laid it down.
Not until later. I mean, I figured, I could just get another mash thermometer, but then it's like at the same time, the trouble is I changed 3 different parameters at once, was forced to change 3 different parameters at once, including the thermometer. It's like, I don't know which of these things is causing me I'm not getting the starch to sugar conversion I used to. So, or I'm just getting really complex sugars that don't, ferment as well. So a beer that would normally come in at 13.5% alcohol is now around 9.5, 10% alcohol, which is still plenty of alcohol, but it's just not what it used to be.
Yeah, well, neither am I. It's okay. So if you're just joining us, this is Richard Brent on the phone, also known as Tecker on Twitter, and he's been a follower for a long time. I was fortunate that he was a follower of Doc, and we got introduced through a consulting offer I did about 2 years ago. Now, I know you're not technically an engineer, but you're probably smarter than the average engineer. And you said something before that which really struck me. And I think that anybody in the food science, food and beverage, anywhere, even chefs, whether you're a home brewer, you're a chef, you're a distiller, you're a vintner, you're right. It's kind of a 60-40 mix of science, or tech rather. Well, we'll say science and art. And
yep.
I believe food is the same way, and that gets skewed one way or the other depending on who the person is. They might be more artist, they might be more technician, scientist, but you have to find your niche. And for such a very scientifically oriented person, you tend to gravitate towards the artistic side, and I find that fascinating. Is there something that draws you to that?
I have described myself as an artist that cannot draw, so I make beer.
I can't. You know what's funny is I can't write my names twice the same way. I can't sign my. It's kind of close, but it's never the same. Oh, at the bank they're like, "Can you sign again, Mr. Mosher?" Sure, I'm used to it. I don't even get upset anymore. I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Slow down, Patrick. Remember, the P has a loop. The P has a loop. The P has a loop. It's okay. It's okay. Don't be upset." But anyway, yeah, it's can't write his own name. So. I have some embarrassing. So I told you about my roux spoon. I really had a roux spoon. It's a big, heavy wooden spoon. It's almost black at the tip, and it kind of gets lighter up to the peanut butter, and then even like blonde peanut, like a light peanut butter light, if they had that color, like a yellowish peanut butter. But literally,
of course, I know what you mean when you say roux spoon, but I'm also thinking something else at the same time. But go on.
Yeah, well, yeah, oh yeah, that's what you beat your kangaroo with. So my mother was one of those that if you were arguing in the kitchen, and no, she was not. She wasn't a mean woman, but in Arizona, as I got older, we perpetually wore shorts year round. I wore shorts, never put on long pants. She would ask you to stop one time, and then it was like a smack on the back of the thigh with a big, heavy wooden spoon. It only had to happen a couple of times before you're like, I probably should not argue with my sister in the kitchen. Just keep my mouth shut. Go to another room and, either argue there out of earshot or just, it probably took me 4 times. Most people once, twice. Me, not the smartest kid, not the brightest bulb. I was definitely not the yellowest banana. I don't know if was I stupid? Did the heat affect my brain? I don't know. I did feel like a baked potato many times getting into the car after school. You're like, oh, man, this is hot. You have, temporary scars on the back of your leg from sitting on leather that had been in 120-degree sunlight for 6 hours while you're sitting in class. Not the smartest guy. All right, back to food.
That'll do it.
So I know you're a great home brewer, and I'm telling you what, we need to get some large batch scaled up gold standard recipes for these, and seriously, we need to market these. We could do a couple tastings if we have a large batch scale up of this, and we could probably get the money for the brewery that we talked about a couple years ago. I'm serious, they're that good, folks. But there's a third one that you brought, which was a little flat, which we knew it was, right? We knew it was going to be a little because it wasn't finished. And tell us about that beer, because I love the idea of this.
The
chili beer?
The chili beer.
Which is
the biggest problem with the chili beer was it's supposed to have a lot more in it, but those notes it turned out are written down on a piece of paper somewhere and under a pile of stuff that's under another pile of stuff. And so when I got to that part in the recipe, I found out it's not in the computer. So I just kind of did bare minimum pepper addition. And it turns out if that's like the first beer you're drinking in the day, if you're starting out with that one, it's a pretty nice, light, subtle sort of chili beer. It's not
absolutely
one of those obnoxious jalapeno beers, which I don't like jalapenos. First of all, I like a lot of other peppers. The jalapenos never did appeal to me, but they always put them in beers, and it's just this kind of obnoxious off flavor that hits you in the face when you drink it. And that's just sort of a nice, subtle, just a very light, hot day lawnmower beer.
Absolutely.
It's nowhere near what it was supposed to be, but it's kind of like the great thing if you own a brew pub and as opposed to a packaged brewery is if you mess something up, you realize at the last second you're out of something and can't. You just change the name and call it the Brewmaster Special.
Yeah, exactly. So flavor of the day. It's a flavor of the day. It's either it's experiment number 1462 or happy accident. Dude, that's a good name for a beer that turns out way better than you thought it would. Happy accident. Yep. And then you number them. Happy accident number 16. Happy that's a good series. I'm giving all my crap away for free again. It's okay. That's what I do for a living.
There you go.
I give you a low.
Somebody's probably already done it.
I don't think they've done a beer. They could have, but I don't think so. We'll have to look and see. Anyway, hey, so I need to mail that to myself so we can copyright it right away. Because if baloney. I'm telling you, that whole mail it to yourself thing doesn't work. Because unless you file it, it doesn't matter. And unless you can prove that you told them after you mailed it to it's just a he said, she said thing. All right.
I have a to-do list on my phone, but the first item on the to-do list is check my to-do list, and I never bother to check it.
It's like the numbers on procrastination. Yeah, I'll get to those tomorrow. So here's the brews that you brought in were fantastic. And look, the chili beer that you had, now that's actually there's another step for that we're talking about with that. You want to make a nacho beer flavored, nachos flavored beer.
The beer that I was, the beer that beer has kind of a long story. It was a popcorn beer. I had to melt it down a hot air pot for making 35 gallons of popcorn for a 5-gallon batch of beer and 4 pounds of. And I've since replaced the popcorn with toasted corn and added not just the roasted chilies but also some like cumin and other nacho plate style spices, and which was the notes that I misplaced. But the next step, I want to put something in there that just kind of at least makes you think about cheese when you're drinking the beer.
Well, so I told you about the website that I found, right? Through Dr. Okay.
Yep.
So I went on there, right? And here's what. So this is ingredientpairings.com. And this is basically it's a guide for you to find ingredients that actually pair well with your base ingredient, but it's not based on flavor profile, heat, acidity, anything. It's actually based on molecular structure. So I typed in jalapeno, which I prefer Serrano chilies. The heat index is about the same. It's a different flavor. But avocado, bacon, butter, cayenne, cheddar cheese, chicken, grilled chicken broth, chili powder, cilantro, corn, cumin, eggs, garlic powder, green onion, green pepper, ground beef, hot sauce, blah, blah, blah. Okay, lemon, mayonnaise, Monterey cheese, jack cheese. So here, which cheese flavor are we looking for? Are we looking for a Monterey Jack? Are we looking more for a cheddar cheese?
Probably a cheddar jack sort of a thing. So
Okay.
A lot of the the so-called Mexican cheese blends are typically just cheddar and jack. But that's a good baseline.
Well, we can find that. So they make a, I know someone who's, oh man, they're working on this most fantastic beer. I wish you could let the out of the bag, but I can't let the cat out of the bag yet. Maybe after my call tomorrow, we'll see if I have the description on everything and NDA signed. But one of the people we're affiliated with is working on a brewery, and they do one with a little this special yellow ingredient stuff that makes mustard yellow. And the way when you put it in there, it's just it's like this paste, this turmeric paste. But the end product is unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. So I'm wondering, how do we get this cheese flavor in the beer without killing the beer? Right? You can't just take nacho cheese. Now, there are true powdered forms of cheddar cheese, right? They're true, they're clean, they're natural. But I guess that's the next step. Without giving away all your secrets, how would you incorporate that in? What would be the If
the problem with using actual cheese, of course, is the fats and oils would affect the head retention, and it would just look flat, even if it isn't even actually flat.
Yeah.
It gives you an unappealing looking product.
Understandable.
If there was just like the hickory smoke made somebody think that there was meat in the beer, in the hickory smoke pineapple beer, there's bound to be something that you can put in there that just makes people think of cheese.
Beer, the original bone broth, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I made one of the earlier batches of this. We've actually used as a vegetable broth. Straight out of the fermenter to nice effect.
That's cool. So here's a question: what do you do with all the stuff that's left over after the beer is done? Like, what do you do with the waste product? I know some places are taking it and they're giving it to cattle, and they treat it, give it to cattle, or they dry it out, remove the alcohol. But is there a use for that? Other than maybe your compost pile?
Typically I dump it in the garden. I will sometimes keep some, and there's a beer bread recipe that I like to use. I just incorporate it in the bread recipe. I know of a brewer that was giving his grain to a cattle farmer, and while I was visiting the brewery, a pig farmer came in to pick it up, and one of the servers asked, "Well, I thought it was a cow guy that was picking it up." It's like, well, he's out of the business because extraterrestrials mutilated his cattle in the middle of the night, and that's a totally different story. But it's like I heard about that actually. It was like it's spooky as heck. It's like the cattle were mutilated one day, so they just decided to get out of the cattle business, and those were the ones he was giving his grain to. Maybe it was a side effect of the grain. I don't know, but
maybe they're tipsy.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Maybe they're tipsy and just fell in a hole. Who knows?
It could have been something sucked their brains out of their ears.
That is kind of scary.
There was a lecture I went to. Some guy that lives on an island that was starting a brewery was you take the spent grain and use it to raise mushrooms, because the mushrooms feed on the fiber component of that. And then after the mushrooms were done with that, you use it to raise worms, and then you take the worms and you feed them to chickens. So then it comes full circle. You can serve beer battered chicken with your beer from the brewery.
All right, wait. I'm going to write this down. So you start with beer, all right?
Beer.
And then it goes around
start
to
with beer.
Then it's mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
Okay. Then it goes around.
Then it's earthworms.
Okay.
Earthworms, then chickens.
Chickens, and then which is beer battered chicken.
Beer battered chicken, yes.
Oh, I love it. Beer battered chicken. Oh man, that is probably my favorite full circle of life right there. Beer, mushrooms, the I can't read my own writing. How sad is that? I know what the word is, but I can't read the word. I can't. Wow. I'm telling you, thank God I at least had cursive and printing in school, because these kids nowadays don't even get like 2 weeks. They don't get any of it. What's going to happen when computers break down?
Someday your sketch pad there will be equipped with spell check, which of course, as we found out earlier, doesn't help at all.
It does on occasion. I have to say, it has saved me from a little bit of embarrassment, but has caused more. There is a. Oh my gosh! I don't have enough time to tell. Hey, do you want to hang over to the break for a few minutes on the other side, Richard? Keep you awake on the drive home?
I could do that.
Okay, thanks. So we're going to go to a quick break, but I want to tell you about this. So in Japanese, there are these words that are very close together, and I may have embarrassed myself at one point at the school I was teaching at, perhaps. There are several words that are really close, and let's just say Counselor Yamato was not very happy with me that day. I may have called her husband a bad word, or I may have called her. We'll get into it in a minute. Hang out. Food Biz Pro, Richard Brown online. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Spoony Radio. You know where to find us. Stay tuned.
Follow Chef Patrick Mosher on Twitter @FoodBizPro.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. 800-245-0823. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0823.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-452-1075. 800-452-1075. That's 800-452-1075.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
That's right. Just got to be smarter than the microphone cord, folks. I just have to be smarter than the microphone cord. All right. If you're watching, you saw me trying to tighten up the microphone. It keeps falling over on me. Anyway, Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro. We have Richard Brown online. Richard, are you there? Nope. Richard?
I am here.
Okay, hold on. I'm having some problems here. What did I do? All right. I can hear you now. I think I can. All right. Let's try that again. All right. There we go. Can you hear me? Are you there? There you go.
Tasting, 1, 2, 3, tasting.
Hey, you know what? Tasting, 1, 2, 3. You know what? I need you around. I need you around. I need somebody wittier than I am to keep me on track.
The problem is we both tend to take off on tangents too much. So,
Really?
I don't think we'd ever get. We cover a lot of subjects, but we never get to the point.
There are no rabbit holes on this show ever. You know, it's funny because I make all these notes about what I want to talk about, but you're right. I just call it's organic. This show grows organically, right? Just like the mushrooms you had the beer, you have the mush left over, you get the mushrooms, then it goes to the worms, then it goes chicken, right back. I try to bring it full circle. On occasion, it happens. Once in a while, maybe one show out of 5. Hey, I got the show shared before the bottom of the hour today. I had at least 1 minute left in the show, so I'm making some progress. I don't know why I
heard that moment. I was listening.
I don't know why I just don't go in early and share it and start a watch party as soon as it starts. Because starting a watch party just like it's click, start a watch party, invite. And then like right now I'm inviting all these people. So all you lovely people that I invite every day that don't watch, just come watch. One day I'll stop inviting you because then you'll know. It's on same time every day. 1 to 3 Central, 2 to 4 East Coast. Anyway. For those of you listening to Chef Patrick Mosher, we have, or just joining us, Richard Brandt on the phone. Richard is a long-term follower, a kind of a master home brewer. Plus, you had a brewery at one point. What happened there?
I did.
So, I know the story. I know the story. Same thing happens with pretty much every restaurant. Yeah. Somebody took money.
That's right. Somebody decides they're going to start running off of the money.
Yep.
And
that wasn't theirs.
Then the sheriff barricades the doors. That's right.
Yeah. Take the money and run. Right. I love that song. Woo woo. I must be tired today. I don't know what the hell's going on. My mind is all. So I'm really thinking about this circle of life with the beer, mushrooms, worms, back to chicken, and then beer battered chicken. I'm so wanting to do this now, but I don't want to just have the beer battered chicken. I want to do the whole thing. That's like, let's see, the beer is, how long do you take to take everything out? How many days?
Well, the mash is available day one. You take you steep after milling the grain, the malted barley. You steep it at a certain temperature that activates the enzymes. The enzymes turn the starch into sugar. You rinse the sugars out of the grain after an hour or two, and now you're throwing your grain away or you're doing something creative with it.
Okay, that would have been, if you'd sung that like the hip bone's connected to the leg bone's connected. If you'd have sung it like that, it would have been perfect. Perfect. It was, you almost had that rhythm going on. It was, anyway, So you take it day one, end of day one, right? So if that's the case, mushrooms, you're talking a week maybe, right? The worms take a little longer, maybe a week, 10 days. I don't know how. I'm curious. Does anyone out there know how fast earthworms grow? I'm curious now. I don't really want to know, but I want to know for the purpose of this so that I can figure out. And chickens, you got a couple months in the chickens. So, I mean, unless you're going to feed him something that's going to make him grow faster. Henry Bryan, I know if you're listening today, you could text me and tell me how long it takes to raise a chicken. I know you know. Henry Bryan of Bryan Family Farms. Man, that guy has the best rock Cornish hen. What is the other? He's got the best crossbreed chicken. Best chicken I've ever had. It is hands down. Too bad you can't find it anywhere, but a few special locations in Houston if you happen to be a member of a private club or an expensive restaurant you go to eat at. But look it up. Bryan Family Farms. Henry Bryan, one of my best friends. Great guy. All right, back to Richard Brandt, who's quickly becoming one of my best friends because you have the most amazing beer. But what I really want to talk about is another gift that you brought me, right, from Lock & Company. That's L-O-C-K & Company. Yep. You brought an amazing whiskey that they make, a bourbon that is aspen aged. And I want to talk about that a little bit because they actually take a small, piece of aspen wood, and they actually split that, and then they put that in while it's aging. And I mean, it gives it a fantastic flavor that I didn't expect because that's a rye. It's not a bourbon. That's a rye, isn't it?
Yep, it's a rye.
Okay. And do you think that's part of the reason it's not so hot and it doesn't burn your throat?
I don't know. It probably is. It might be. There could be something about the process. I'm going to try to stop by the place I picked that up at. With any luck, they're still got a a table set up to selling their product. But I mean, if all else fails, I've got their contact info. You've got their contact info.
I do.
So we can just give them a call.
Yeah, I need to. It'd be great to have them on the show as a guest. I really need to send a thank you note to them. Also to Loveland Ale Works. Can I tell you what? I had that strawberry lemon bar sour. Oh, man. I love sours to begin with. Folks, if you have the chance to get up to Colorado, about 45 minutes north of, about 45 minutes north of Denver, 15 to 20 minutes south of Fort Collins is Loveland. And I'm telling you, Loveland Ale Works, man, that is a fantastic. They have such a wide variety of brews. You got to go check out their tap room. Really nice people. I need to tell them thank you. I need the name of the person I need to talk to. So you can text it to me later. You can tell it to me, but I need to send them a thank you letter. That was fantastic. Fantastic. I can't, and also I want to ask them what the one that was barrel aged is, because I have no clue. You have no clue. They're just some scribbled letters and numbers on the on that crowler, but I can't wait to try that one. I purposely held off, trying to be a good boy through the weekend, deal with what I need to deal with. But I'm not gonna last long. I gotta try that soon. Like I'm sure it won't last through tomorrow. Just saying.
I'm going to text him right now on the off chance he gets right back to me to tell me what that is.
Awesome. I came up with an idea. I think that'd be great. So I came up with an idea today. A lot of people using fruit and beers in Arizona. My friend Steen Routh, she was at a particular brewery. She did one with strawberries, which, Steen, you're allergic to strawberries. You know that, right? You're not supposed to be handling those. So I think she stemmed and cut up, I don't know, 50, 100, 200 pounds of strawberries, something like that. I don't know. It was some outrageous amount, but, and then, or was it peaches? It was peaches because she can't have any stone fruit. Steen, don't play with things that could kill you. I'm just saying, don't, that's like poking the bear or playing with the, pretending to be the mongoose, playing with a snake. Don't do that. Come on, please. Anyway, but it turned out really delicious. So my idea was, I love berries and cream. I like a bowl of blueberries and cream, strawberries and cream. I don't need additional sugar on there unless the berries are really tart, especially strawberries, but you can put a little bit on there. But what if you did like a milk stout? You took a milk stout, but you had this hint of strawberry or hint of blueberry. That's a rich, dense enough, meaty enough beer to stand up to it, don't you think? Oh,
I think so.
Okay, I thought you were still texting, or maybe you got him on the phone already. Yeah, I think that, I don't know.
No,
I mean, like Revolver here in town. Have you had Revolver's Blood and Honey? They use a blood orange, and they there's a touch of honey in there. But that blood orange, if you've never had blood oranges before, folks, you got to try them. It's a completely unique flavor. It's nothing like grapefruit. It's like an intensified orange. It's fantastic. It's one of my all-time favorite fruits. Now, you have to be careful because it's a really deep red inside. It's almost a purplish color. It's a mix between orange and purple, this mottled, splotchy mix of colors inside. It will stain your clothes. It will stain your fingers. Fingers not too bad, just for a day or so. Not like beets, but man, I love that flavor. Have you ever incorporated anything, raw citrus into any of the brews that you've done before, Richard?
I have not. I am familiar with that beer, though. I had it a while ago, the thing, and it was on the beer list at the hotel all weekend, but they were also out of it all weekend, so I never did get to. That was one of the first ones I asked for, and yeah, sorry, we're out. Oh, and we're out of this. Oh, and we're out of that. It's like, dude, it's a furry convention. These people drink like fish.
Okay, so all right. So for those listeners who may not be familiar, explain to us what a furry convention is.
You get a bunch of people that hang out on the internet pretending they're animal people for the sake of entertainment, and just to get to know each other. Every once in a while, there's a convention somewhere. In fact, it's almost like every weekend there's a convention somewhere. And I think the fifth largest convention is down there in Dallas. Just happened this weekend. And you get a couple thousand people together, all just hanging out,
all furried up,
panels, learn art things, buy stuff. For people that claim to be leftist commie types, most of the time they're surprisingly entrepreneurial in their selling of stuff. A lot of arts and crafts. There's a big arts and crafts show and little panels. You get there's a guy that does a couple of guys that do drunken zoologists at about 12 o'clock at night, where they get drunk and they talk about animals, and this is somehow amusing.
Okay,
I'm sure it is an amusing show. They are some well-known people. I'm just usually off somewhere else drinking beer.
Okay, so actually, drunk zoologists talking about these that would be very entertaining for me.
Yep.
Because I'm sure they take it very serious.
Oh yeah, but they're also drunk.
Yeah, well, that's true. So here's the thing. Now, before people are like, yes, it's like, okay, this is like, it's a different form of cosplay. It's a costume, but this isn't just someone in a horse costume. A lot of these are custom made, mixed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, genetically modified creatures, right?
There are impossible crossbreeds like raccoon wolves and things like that, but you design your character and you commission artists to draw pictures, make badges that you can wear, or full out fursuits, as you saw the other day, where people dress up as their own characters.
So I had actually forgotten that you're going to be in studio, right? And when I walked in, because I didn't see you right away, but I saw three or four other dressed guests, furry guests. I was like, what is going on? What is going on today? And I was like, oh, that's right, Richard's going to be here. So anyway, Richard, I can't thank you enough for the home brews you brought, the gifts from other brewers and distillers. Thanks for coming down. Thank you so much for supporting Spoony and our sister station Mojo. To the whole family of listeners, you've been outstanding in your emotional support, financial support, and just in being wonderful people that believe in what we're trying to do. Because who the hell would have ever thought that 24 hours of food talk radio would ever be something someone thought of, let alone actually tried to do? I'm still thinking back on, what was I thinking? I mean, but when I'm not thinking is usually when I get my best ideas. So maybe I did it right.
It is shockingly entertaining and informative.
I try to be. And people are like, well, what do you do? What do you talk about? You can't cook on the air. You can cook, actually. You can walk people through recipes. But more interesting to me is to we have this great foodie culture now, but fewer people are cooking, right? That's bizarre to me. So why are they not cooking? Well, people aren't familiar with, the ingredients or how to cook them. They can talk about them. They can eat them. They can say, ooh, there's a hint of umami in here. Okay, well, there's a hint of umami in everything if you really want to talk about that. But I like to take the seemingly difficult or the seemingly mystical portions of cooking and demystify it. If I talk about a recipe, and granted, I'm usually rushing through it at the end of a segment. If I talk about a recipe on the air, you should feel, even as a home cook who doesn't cook much, you should feel like you could make that at home. That's the goal, right? Empower you as a cook, even if you don't do it. Maybe you'll pass the knowledge on, even if you don't use it personally to feed yourself. But what's the whole thing? We may not be solving the world's problems, but we're bringing people to the table.
But we're bringing people to the table.
Exactly.
That is an awesome, an awesome slogan.
Doc was brilliant with that imaging. For people who don't know, that's the flavor, the audio flavor behind a radio station, a channel, a network, and he came up with some great ones. Like what was it? Taking no S and giving no Fs. I think that's one of the one from the other channel. He was brilliant, and
right.
The best one. You guys. I'll try to play this right. The best one he ever did. So Doc was a genius. This guy. I wish that I would immerse myself. I dream of immersing myself in my craft, my passion, food, as Doc Thompson did into radio. Seriously. Michael Doc Thompson was probably the most devoted person to his craft of anyone I've ever met. That man sat over there in that control room outside of doing his 3-hour show on one channel, and then doing another hour show here, and then sometimes sitting and meeting with it for a half an hour. And then our meetings, he would still work, the remainder of the day, 16, 20 hours a day, working on the imaging, editing sound files, writing these scripts, right? Writing writing out what you wanted the voice man to do, or the voice woman. And the funniest one ever was they're strung out on a page. It's like one pair. Okay, Spoony, we're not solving the world's problem. It's just one sentence. We're just bringing people to the table. Next line is, Spoony, food and fun. And so what happens is the radio personality, the voice, just reads them in a bunch of different ways. They'll read each line 2 or 3, 4 times until they think they've given you enough variety. You can choose one. Well, he wrote one that the reader could not get through. And it's funny. It starts out, he's like, Mojo 5-0. It's like, because he read the rest of the sentence. And so then he tries to read it again. Mojo 5-0. It's like, he can't get through it. So he finally gets to the end of it. It's like Mojo 5-0. It's like Grindr for Mojo sexuals. And the way he thought about things was so unique. And we're not getting political here. We're not talking about anything but the genius that was Doc Thompson. So he took this brilliant clip that could have been used raw as a filler, this imaging, this commercial for our sister station. But what he did is he actually had me in between. He said, "Okay, Patrick, I need you to read these." And he's like, "Just don't ask why." He said, "I need you to say it just like this." So when you hear the commercial now, it's like, take 2. Do it again. Yep. He's like, so it's a brilliant commercial. But the way he strung it, it's like the actor couldn't finish the reading. So I had to take 2. Do it again. All right, 1 more. Take 3. And it was the way it turned out is brilliant. I mean, that man, he really inspired me to dive headfirst, fully immerse myself, drown myself in what we're trying to do here. And I'm telling you, I'm thankful. I really am. It's easy to get burnt out no matter what you're doing. But watching that man, he had an appetite that could not be satisfied. My God.
And I'd been wondering if that advert, if that was actually real or not, because the voiceover guy never did break character.
No.
While he was cracking up at that. So it almost sounds like, is he just acting, or was he really just, cracking up?
No, if you listen to it at the end, I don't know if it's at the end. He goes, yeah. At the very end, he goes, "I'm sorry, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get." He goes, "I'm so sorry, I couldn't get through it." But if you listen to him talk in real life, his voice is like that all the time. Right back here on Spoony Radio, I mean, his voice is bigger than life, which is why they got those big voice guys of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Doc was fascinated by what they did, and it's kind of cool because they're like the seasoning in a meal. They're the those hidden gems, those little flavors you can't necessarily identify that take a dish to the next level. Doc knew that. He knew that I used to complain. I used to complain to him. I'd say, "Doc, dude, I need you doing other stuff. I need you to do a show today." He goes, "Man, trust me. I got to get this done. I got to get the imaging done. Trust me. It's okay. Patrick, it's okay. I'm not doing a show today. I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll come. Patrick, I'm still working on the imaging." It was like 10 days in a row. I'm like, "Dude, you're killing me. I got 6 hours of content a day. We're playing everything 4 times a day." And not quite. We had more than that. But, but he was right. It's really, that's the spice. That's the seasoning that makes a radio channel, what it is. Think about it. Nowadays it's not quite there. It's commercials, a couple of intros, and your show hosts, or if you even have show hosts, or the automated songs that are played throughout the day. Doc was brilliant. He really was brilliant. And I've said what a dumbass. No, he was. Man, that guy had a passion for life, and he really did. He was so passionate about his trade. I have never met anyone personally that's that passionate about what he does. Never. Anyway. All right, Tech-Roo. When you call him back? What's the next brew you're going to experiment with?
Oh, gee. Have I mentioned what my next beer is going to be?
I don't
I'm not
think
sure yet.
so.
I have to I have to check. A lot of these kegs, when I just loaded them in the truck this morning, were pretty light. So I think I'm going to have to be doing some more of the pineapple ale soon, because that was one of the light ones. I need to do the at least the proper version of the not cheesed yet nacho beer for experimental purposes. I probably have enough of the Belgian strong ale to last me for a bit. I've got a beer fridge that fits 4 or 5 gallon kegs.
Awesome.
And those are the ones that end up in my room. I've got a couple of big rolling ice chests full of ice and 10 gallons of beer apiece in them with the little end of line cheapo faucets to dispense with, but with CO2 supply.
Well, hey,
that gets all loaded into my beer fridge.
I'm gonna look for ingredients that will add that cheese flavor we're looking for without actually being cheese.
Okay.
I'm sure. Look, you're a pretty brilliant guy. Obviously you probably have a couple of ideas in mind of how you're gonna infuse that beer. But I'm looking forward to. I'm curious if you could drink the nacho. I'm bouncing up and down. I'm so excited about nacho cheese beer. I'm telling you, brilliant. Hey, it's got to be better than the Lucky Charms brew they just did up in Norfolk, Virginia. Just saying. I could be wrong.
One of it, yeah, Lucky Charms. Please at least think of a better cereal.
Ooh, Golden Grams. That's a good flavor. Golden Grams.
I might, maybe I might do that. That would be an awesome beer flavor.
It would, because you can, you strain that out, you don't get the sogginess with Golden Grams are great for about 45 seconds. So, man, I love cereal. I absolutely love cereal. And Golden Grams, that kind of caramely, brown sugar flavor, one of my all-time favorite flavors.
Yeah.
So what I do is I would not fill the bowl all the way. You fill it like halfway with milk, or maybe a third of the way, and then you put the cereal on top of it. You don't pour the milk over it. You put the cereal on top of the milk, and then you scoop down through underneath the milk, underneath the cereal to the milk, and then you eat as fast as you can, and then you pour another like third of a bowl in there. That way, you get lots of extra flavor in the milk to drink at the end, but the cereal never gets soggy. It works most of the time.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody who has those weird food habits, like their food can't touch?
I've heard that you're one of those weird people that doesn't like your food to touch.
Actually, I don't care now, but when I was a child, I did not like my food to touch. It was like it was getting contaminated. I don't know what the deal was, but I did not like if my peas touched my corn, touched my beef, touched my gravy. I didn't like that. I don't know why, because now I love taking a little bit of everything. I was also the kid that ate the food that I liked the least first, all of it, then went to the second least, to what I liked a little better, and then I ate what I liked the most last. But I ate them one item at a time. I'm not so quirky anymore, at least not with my food. But I had a friend named Mike Camberg. Mike Camberg, I don't know if you're listening, probably not. But hey, somebody tell him I talked about him on the air today. Mike Camberg was the first person I ever saw, because my daughter does not like soggy cereal, so she would just eat like Cheerios out of a cup with no milk. Just take it on the bus. But Mike Camberg, he would eat when I would stay. He lived right around the corner from me when I was in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. He would eat cereal dry and then drink the milk separate because he didn't like his cereal getting soggy. And it's funny because I thought it was the weirdest thing, but then I start thinking back. Okay, I didn't like my food to touch. I only ate one thing at a time. Mike, you're not so weird. I think I probably called you weird for not eating your cereal the right way. But yeah. You win. You had one quirk.
I usually like to drink the milk after, when I was done with a bowl of Fruit Loops or something like that. Get that sugary milk to finish things up with.
Absolutely. That give you
on mixed food. On mixed food, I need to make you one of my Thanksgiving leftover chimichangas.
Okay, so you should have seen Chris Cruz's face the first time I was on TV with Doc. We're doing the Dune. You saw that? Did you see that? Oh, we did some Thanksgiving fails and some Thanksgiving nails, right? So one of the things I did is I made the proverbial the leftover cake, right? So basically, each layer represents it's the leftovers, right? So you have mashed potatoes on the bottom, and then you do like a dressing, and then mashed potatoes, and then cranberry, and then mashed potatoes, then turkey, and you just go up, and then you cover the whole cake in theory. You cover it with mashed potatoes. It looks like a carrot cake that you're going to cut into, but it's not carrot cake. It's actually not bad. It is what it is. But what was more interesting is I made a lot of these restaurants do this Thanksgiving sushi thing, like sushi rolls with turkey and mashed potatoes and dressing inside, which never appealed to me. But I made it, and Chris Cruz, poor man, I thought he was going to lose his lunch right there. It really wasn't that bad. I tried it. But what I did do, which was one of Doc's favorite dishes, not talk about Doc today, just he again, passion for food, passion for life. I did this lobster stuffed tenderloin. And I've talked about it on the air. Basically, you you butterfly the tenderloin out as a whole tenderloin, and then you take lobster tails that you've cooked to about 80%, and you have to cook them with a skewer inside the shell, between the shell and the lobster meat, so that when you cook them, they stay straight. So you cook them about 80% done. You can cook them all the way, but just barely. And then what you do is you put them in ice water right as soon as they come out, and that's called shocking them. It stops the cooking process so they don't turn rubbery. But then you take the tails after you've opened the butterflied tenderloin out. Then you smear a paste in there. It's called duxelle. It's mushrooms chopped really finely, sautéed in butter. You can put some other stuff in there. It's basically butter, mushroom, salt, pepper, and garlic. You can put some other things in there, but that's the basic. But you cook it until all the moisture's out. It's basically this golden brown mushroom mix. You spread that in there. You put the salt and pepper on the tenderloin. You put it, on the a little bit inside for the lobster, and then you put the tails overlapping in opposite directions. So the narrow part goes the thin part over the thin part. End of the tail over the end of the tail, so that you have the same thickness all the way through. You truss it up, sew it up, whatever you need to do, and then you pan sear it over real high heat, and then you roast it in the oven. Oh my gosh, it's so delicious. But that particular dish, I did some potatoes and stuff with it, but that's probably my favorite meat dish. It's like a reverse surf and turf. So anyway, I've kept you on the phone long enough. You're like, dude, can I get a word in edgewise? But again, Richard, thanks for being a friend. Thanks for calling in. We really appreciate it. Hope that you and Lady Hecate have a safe drive back up to all the way up to Cheyenne. So be safe, and let us know when you get there. Will do. All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thanks.
Enjoy.
All right. Again, Richard Brandt on the phone with us today. Yeah. All right. Well, I talked a lot. Hope you learned something. We're gonna start doing taking requests from people. So think about those questions you've always wanted answered about your food. Restaurants. Tom always has questions about what happens when they take your plate away. Do people really spit in your food? No. Man, I once got a filet back 3 times. You know how I finally, it wasn't well done. I put it in the deep fryer for a minute, sent it back to the table. The guy said, best steak ever. Want more secrets? Come back tomorrow. Chef Patrick Mosher, the Food Biz Pro, right here on Spoony Radio, Spoony.com, Spoony Radio, and everything else. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, you are cheap. Ciao for now.